Okay, hello, it is Archie here, and it is 6:30 a.m., which means the only reason I would ever be up at 6:30 a.m. Is because the Lich is getting changed. Now, I did not expect these in a million years. I did not think he'd get touched for at least another 3 years. But here we are, and we have graciously not been told any numbers, so we are left with purely words and our own mind to figure this out. So I'm going to be giving my quick thoughts and opinions and hopes of what they're doing with the numbers. So first of all of the Lich's spells are available at the start of a trial. This is amazing. I don't know why Lich spawns with 10-second cooldowns, but Kaneki can move or can jump halfway across the map at the beginning of the game. This is amazing. The only problem I see with this is that it nerfs Cloak of Invisibility. What Cloak of Invisibility does is it gives you around, like, I don't know how much undetectable. He's like 10 seconds of undetectable while all your spells are on cooldown. This actually procced at the beginning of the trial because all of your spells were on cooldown. So it'll no longer proc at the beginning of the trial, which is a bit unfortunate. I really hope that they make it so that it procs at the beginning of the trial, or they just give the spells a 1-second cooldown. That would also work. But this is amazing. This will let you not only fly at the start of the trial, but if you find someone somehow and get in a chase within like the first 10 seconds, you're not sitting there shuffling awkwardly. This will mostly help with fly, since again, you might see a survivor in the first 10 seconds and decide that you want to fly on top of them. This just helps with that. Reduce cooldowns of all spells. I mean, it's reducing the cooldown of all the spells. I don't know how. There's not really a bad way to interpret that. Even something like 2 or 3 seconds on every spell, that's going to be amazing. That's lowering his, not only giving him, like, more consistentness, I cannot speak, sorry, it is so early in the morning. More consistent value, but also makes him slightly less punishing. His long cooldowns do gatekeep him into being like a spammy killer, into like, you know, having too much you need to worry about. But I think lowering the cooldowns by around like 2 to 5 seconds each, especially on Mage Hand, I don't know why that's on 40 seconds, to be honest. I think that's mostly for like the lower ends of the player base, the ones that can't really counter Mage Hand, in which it's genuinely a super strong spell. I think it's more for that, but lowering the cooldowns on all the spells, I mean, I can't complain about it. Dispelling Sphere's projectile moves quickly when first cast and slows down over time. This is actually, I think, the most, I think this is the best designs change. I'm not saying it's my favorite, but it's the best design change. Why do I think it's the best design change? Because it buffs the higher end of Vecna while nerfing the lower end of Vecna. Here's why. Because Dispelling Sphere, you don't want to use to snipe a gen across the map in order to get information. Why can't you do that? Because the item, Interloper, Dispelling Sphere, shows the aura of Dispelling Sphere. So if someone on the gen has that item, you're not hitting them with it and you're not getting consistent information. So you want to use it on a gen that you're already going to in order to scan potential people that are not only on the gen, but also have walked away slightly from the gen. The Killer Instinct helps you track them. It disables their magic items for the upcoming chase. This buffs that. This lets you throw Dispelling Sphere and have it catch up quickly, short term, and you want to be using it short range in order to get that information. Because again, when survivors hear your terror radius, they're probably going to walk away from the generator, and it might be hard to track them because you got to check over here, then you got to check over there. This just helps it like tremendously. The sphere reaches them faster, and I mean, if you're sniping someone with a Dispelling Sphere, it's going to be a nerf. But you really shouldn't be sniping in the first place unless you have a specific build like Vorpal Sword and you're trying to snipe someone halfway across the map with Broken. Otherwise, it just buffs, you know, being able to disable magic items close range, especially during chase. Although I guess it didn't really need to be buffed during chase because you're not really missing Dispelling Sphere, but mostly for the situation of you're walking to a generator. Because, I mean, it depends on the numbers, but I'm assuming Dispelling Sphere isn't gonna be moving like at the same speed as you. So it'll actually reach the location before you do at a significant time. That is amazing. I love that. Best design change. Increase the Killer Instinct once survivors exit the Dispelling Sphere. Kind of goes in hand with the above one. You're going to be able to track survivors a lot easier if you use the Dispelling Sphere on a gen or an area of interest that you're going to. It's just going to give you more tracking. I don't know what else to say. More tracking is good. These two changes go hand in hand, though. Increase the attack cooldown after fly ends. That means you're going to have to wait longer after the flight cooldown in order to M1. And increase the duration and movement speed of fly. This is interesting. I'm not going to say I don't like it, but it depends on the numbers. Again, I want my numbers. But this will make it harder to use fly in chase because, you know, you're going to M1 them, they're going to go away, you're going to fly on top of them, and they're going to have even more time to reach a pallet or window. However, increase the duration and movement speed of fly. This could be huge. If this lets you body block way sooner, then the cooldown isn't going to like matter because you're going to be body blocking. However, if you're not able to make it to the resource, this is undoubtedly a nerf. But depending on the duration and movement speed buffs, this could potentially be like just a straight buff. I think they want to move fly more towards a map mobility perspective, but to be honest, fly has kind of sucked, has always sucked for map mobility. I believe it gets you like 1 second of distance or 2 seconds of distance, I think, from my testing. So it was already not the best for that. I think it definitely shined as more of a chase tool, and it seems to be moving away from that. But especially since you can just fly through survivors, I think this is really interesting and will kind of push his skill ceiling more. Again, this is buffing the higher end, but nerfing the lower end. Again, it really depends on the numbers. But being able to manipulate yourself during fly a lot easier and potentially body block things is, I mean, it's a huge expression of skill. And it discourages just flying on top of survivors. Also, this reduces his reliance on rapid brutality, which is one of my favorite and one of like the best perks on Lich. Well, best perks that's not like slowdown, because like, you know, why slow down? Yeah, so this could cook. I'm scared because I really like the low cooldown, especially with Potion of Speed. And they're doing add-on changes, so if they change Potion of Speed to be buffed or nerfed, that's also scary. But reading this, I see the vision. Again, numbers would help tremendously. I'm simply going off of 6:30 a.m. Thoughts and experiences, but this could be huge. Adjusted mage hand hold time to make it consistent for both killers and survivors, resolving a known bug. I'm assuming this means buffering dropping the pallet so that you can drop it as soon as Vecna lifts it up. That's the only bug I can really think of, other than maybe the bug where you can cancel a survivor vault with mage hands. I don't know what to think about this change because I don't know what it is. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I guess resolving either bug would be good. Detroit hand tech, which is like what I like to call it, canceling the vault. It's good at confusing the survivor, but if the survivor knows what they're doing, they can still drop the pallet anyways, I think. I mean, if they're resolving the bug, then that means they can't drop it after you lift it up without you M1ing. So I think that's just a flat buff. I could be heavily misinterpreting this. Again, I have not slept in like 18 hours, so... Or no, like 20 hours, so please mind me. Increase the effects of magic items when casting the associated spells. This is effectively buffing the magic items, not the artifacts. Not the artifacts, just the magic items. This is interesting because there are two outliers when it comes to magic items. The Meichan one and the Dispelling Sphere one. The other two are shit. The other two are complete dog shit. And I understand when you need to buff Vecna, you need to buff his counterplay. I completely understand that. However, they could take this one of two ways. They could be like, okay, your aura is revealed slightly longer after you cast a spell, or you gain 5% haste when Vecna drops Flight of the Damned. There's two completely different ways they can take this. And I'm hoping, honestly, that they just buff the aura reading, or they make skeletons and what's the other one? Fly more appealing to pick up. Because at the moment, they're just, you know, see Vecna, see the spell. And that's not necessarily helpful. I mean, it is helpful, but like you'd rather have the Dispelling Sphere one, which counters something that you literally cannot counter without it. And the Mage Hand one, which like, I mean, haste, 7% haste is kind of crazy. So I hope they I kind of want them to... I mean, with the Dispelling Sphere change, if they buff the spells, then this also buffs his skill ceiling and nerfs the lower ends, which is needed, by making Vecna need to actually dispel the survivors more often, other than just, like, You know, they have Mage Hand disabled. If they don't have Mage Hand, who the fuck cares? So this could make it like more necessary to Dispelling Sphere, which I am always a big fan of them increasing his skill ceiling and skill floor. I mean, not skill floor. His skill floor is high enough. His skill ceiling. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to tell just because we don't know what they're doing. We don't know what they're doing. We won't know until tomorrow. And my fat ass is not waiting to make a video until tomorrow. You know, I gotta... I'm up. I'm making the video. I'm dropping it probably in like whenever I make a thumbnail. I mean, this is not the most high effort video to upload. Who cares about that? Anyways, adjusted several of his add-ons. Again, don't know what the fuck they're doing, but I love it. He has a lot of add-ons that are just kind of dog shit. Tattered headbands, cloak of elven kinds, ring of spell storing, even stuff like Dragon Tooth Dagger can be buffed. And I know for sure that they're changing Feather and maybe Potion of Speed. Definitely Feather. I feel like they're making Feather partially base kit, and then they're gonna nerf Feather. But I really don't know what else that they're gonna change. Like, it says adjusted several add-ons, so they're not just gonna flat buff them. I'm really hoping that his lower end add-ons do get a buff. And I don't know what add-ons I would want nerfed. I mean, the only add-ons I would feel like are like viable for a nerf is maybe Dispelling Sphere add-ons. Now that Dispelling Sphere is a lot more reliable at close range, like the size. But I don't really see a big need for that. Maybe the Crystal Ball, because they seem to be making that partial base kit. That's what I'm assuming. I really hope that they buff especially the lower 3 add-ons. They could even be nerfing like Book of Vile Darkness or Potion of Speed if they wanted to push Fly away from being a chase spell, which I don't think they should do, by the way. I really like Fly as a chase spell. I think it can coexist as like a pseudo mobility spell. It doesn't have to be like a necessarily strong mobility spell, something that just gives him a touch over like some of the slower killers while also letting him use it in chase. I think that decision making already exists, and I think that's a good like limiting factor. Like, do I want to use this more for mobility? Because otherwise I'm not gonna have it when I find a survivor. It's a nice game. And for the dev note, for the Lich, much of his power focuses on providing utility over reliably injuring survivors. We've adjusted his 4 spells to increase the frequency in which they can be used to ensure there's more spell slinging, while quality of life adjustments help make those spells feel smoother to use. On the survivor side of things, we also wanted to ensure magic items feel like more viable options for countering each spell, so we buffed them slightly. Now I'm hoping when they mean slightly, they don't mean adding haste onto all of them. But they also said countering each spell, which is interesting because at the moment, Flight of the Damned and Fly magic items, I mean, they do help you counter it, but not really. Flight of the Damned, they only let you counter it if Vecna's 1, using it behind the wall, and 2, on lower elevation. That is a very niche situation to be in, because you'll actually have to dodge between the skeletons instead of crouching them. That's a very niche situation. And Fly, I mean, how are you gonna counter Fly? Just run to a pallet. That's really the only counter. I guess, I don't know. I just hope they don't slap haste onto everything. I'll make another video when the numbers drop. This is just my rambly thoughts. But that's basically it. Yep, that's all I want. I just wanted to give my reactions. Overall, in case you skip to the end of the video or you're tuned out, lock in. I'm about to explain. I love these changes. I'm very scared of the attack cooldown and the magic items. They need to make it so that it compensates the buffs, but also doesn't make it feel like they're nerfing him. They need to make the buffs make sense for the nerfs that they're giving him. Because I do think he needs to be flat out buffed. And again, I really like how they're doing these increased skill ceiling, lowering the lower MMR bracket. I really like that, making him more like thoughtful to use and making like worse liches slightly worse at the character, because Vecna is a knowledge check killer. You put a low tier Vecna into a low tier match, he is stomping. Like, how are you supposed to figure out that you're supposed to crouch the skeletons? You're supposed to greed Mage Hand, that Fly doesn't instantly kill you. But you have to crouch skeletons, but not if Vecna's on a slightly lower elevation, then you have to dodge them. But if he has Eerie Book of Vile Darkness, then you can't dodge them in the first place, but he has less, so you have to dodge between them. Unless he's running Ornate Ornate Horn, which gives him a third. And then for Mage Hand, you can greed pallets. Unless he has Vorpal Sword, they need to be careful about down pallets. Dispelling Sphere, all it does is reveal you. Unless he has Staff of... You see where I'm getting at? Like, there's just so much to his kit that, like, any person that puts, like, time into the Lich will have significantly more experience than the survivors they're playing against, especially at the lower end. So that kind of creates this noob stompy vision, which, I mean, I'm not denying. Obviously, he's a bit of a noob stomp character. I'm no stranger to you types, but this definitely helps him at the higher ends, and lets him be more skill expressive, which I love. I absolutely love. Anyways, that's it for me. I might do my reactions when the numbers drop, and I will see you guys soon. I cannot believe I remembered my YouTube password. Peace.